Shaka, I walked in the room and I saw you're a disappointment, and it was like being back at home.
I've stayed out there home life.
Okay.
For the best, I'm sure.
So basically, so far this season, there's a lot of people who, or a lot of things, or a lot of teams that maybe promised quite a lot and haven't delivered. So I need your top 5 disappointments. You want to start at 5 to build the drama?
Yeah, and to be honest, this is quite some list that.
Is it fair that everyone's on?
Yeah, any of those 5 could fit in on here. But I start with Nicolas Pepe.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I wasn't as surprised as others maybe as to how poor he's been. I felt he was a raw emerging talent. I was a little bit surprised at the amount of money that Arsenal paid for him. And even so, probably more surprised that they haven't shown the kind of faith or given the kind of support that he needs. As a result, his confidence has been absolutely dented, and it's not been a good start to the Premier League campaign. Maybe things will turn around with time.
I found this interesting because it wasn't 10 players. It was 6 players, 3 clubs, and that. Number 4.
Number 4, I'm going to go Jesse Lingard, who I thought when he burst on the scene in Manchester United would be a player for the long term. It's been anything but. And this is maybe not fair on Jesse Lingard if you're talking about a disappointment as compared to last season or what you saw of him last season. It's just a kind of disappointment as to what I'd expected from him. And it's been disappointing throughout. This season has been no more disappointing than last. But as I say, it's more the big picture of Jesse Lingard, why he makes the list, and this high.
Before we get to your top 3, pick one of the people or things or teams or whatever that didn't make it but you thought might have made it. You were close.
Well, everybody else was close. Where do you start? Harry Kane, who I don't think has had the kind of impact in games that we expect.
Why? Service or just him or what?
Well, Spurs have been poor. And, so to level it at just Harry Kane maybe is a little bit unfair. Spurs, on the whole, has been hugely underwhelming. Dele Alli, you can say the same exact thing. Well, listen, I'm a West Ham fan. I understand the disappointments and the inconsistency of West Ham as much as anybody. Felipe, a player, again, who maybe should have done more. And listen, we spoke about Manchester United. Ad nauseum. I've given it all away.
I know you have, but you've not given us the order. 3.
3, Moise Kean.
Okay.
I was more surprised than anybody that Juventus let Moise Kean go. I thought he was the future of their striking department. That given his youth, given the impact that he had for them coming off of the bench, that there was absolutely no way that they'd let him go. And if somehow they did, it would be for big money to a big club. I didn't see Everton being a fit, and I just didn't see his struggle. To the point where you're not sure if he's going to make the starting 11 all of a sudden.
He needs to buy a better alarm clock to start with.
Listen, this has been a huge disappointment in my mind, given what I expected from him.
Number 2.
Champions League finalist. Tottenham Hotspur. And listen, anybody can go through a bad spell. Anybody can show the kind of form that Spurs have shown. I didn't expect somebody who's been as good as they have been for this long, given the successes of last season, for it to continue for this amount of time. And more to the point, when I look at them play now, waiting for them to turn that proverbial corner, I'm not sure where the corner is. And that's my biggest concern, and why Spurs are as high as they are. Yeah.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
You were like the biggest proponent of this at the start of the season. So why is it your number 1 disappointment?
I think the English. I am a huge supporter of VAR and what it can bring to the game. I think the English have made a bigger mess of this than I thought at all possible, especially given the build-up. And I keep talking about the timelines, given the successes of VAR at the World Cup in 2018. They then take it on a dry run during one of the cups, was it Carabao or FA Cup of last season, which I thought was a brilliant approach in getting to understand the system and the kinks. And then what we've seen of it this season, again, I think the protocols that the English continue to employ are totally wrong. The language that they use in defending some of the decisions and how it's used, I think points to the fact that they're more interested in appeasing the media and fans than they are in supporting the referees. Everything about how the English FA, the Premier League, whoever it is to blame, have used VAR has been simply awful.
It's interesting you mentioned the Premier League. I don't think they're happy at this because this is a brand that didn't require a sponsor. They turned down the chance to be sponsored and all the money that goes with that for the Premier League. I believe from what I've read and all the articles in ESPN FC and other things that they are really annoyed that this video assistant referee and the way it's been implemented is more people are speaking about that than the actual product themselves.
And again, for us to be at that point,
Yep.
given what we've seen, as much as other domestic leagues have had their issues, I don't think any have been as prominent, as impactful as it has in the Premier League. And all this, and I keep going back to this, I was involved in the initial meetings in terms of VAR and how it was to be used. I heard what the referees at the time, it was Massimo Busacca and Colina, and how they felt it needed to be used and the protocols that needed to be implemented. Those were done to perfection, and you saw that in the World Cup, yet everybody just decided to put their own spin on it, and now they're having troubles. That's on them.
There's a pitch side monitor over there. You want to go and check and see if people agree with you?
No. Don't even get me started on that.
I won't now.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.